second. 5.6 seconds.
It's a one of a kind, only in the DTM.
Yes, man, you did it.
Thank you, guys.
Go, 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 go.
Yeah!
Hello and welcome to the new season of the DTM 2015. We're here at the Hockenheimring, and of course a new season. We have a new format, 2 races waiting for you each weekend. And yesterday we certainly had a crazy kickoff, but today, the second race coming up, we are awaiting a very thrilling, very thrilling race, of course, especially because the weather conditions might be a little bit different than yesterday. We're expecting a little bit of rain. And with me now is Timo Glock. Timo, now yesterday was an interesting day. It was a lot of action on the racetrack, and but you ended up in the 8th place. So tell us about that, just quickly, but especially looking at today. You're starting from P16. What can we expect?
I mean, yesterday we started P19, I think, or P20, and I ended up in the points, so I hope I can do the same today. Unfortunately, we somehow struggle a bit in qualifying as a team to get the most out of the tires at the moment, so Bruno and myself are at the back at the moment. But we try our best to get up front and try to do the same than yesterday.
All right, and now there's a new feature in the new season, which is called DTM's driver's seat, and the fans have a second screen here, but especially on DTM.com they can watch a little bit. What's that all about?
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, and I'm pleased to be the first one to try that out, and everyone has the chance to watch me through the whole race on onboard camera. Plus the radio is fully open, so every word I will say, which I need to be careful about, you guys can listen to it. And we have got 5 camera positions, so 2 in the car, I think 1 on the on the pit stand, and here in the box another 1 or 2. So I think that's quite a good feature for the fans out there, and I hope they enjoy it.
All right, well, best of luck for the race today. Thank you very much, Timo Glock. And if you want to know how everybody else did in the race yesterday, check this out.
Well, race 1 yesterday got off to an absolute flyer then. And Jamie Green did everything that he needed to do. Jamie Green led away Pascal Wehrlein into P2, whilst a lot of people running wide straight after the start, and there you can see Timo Scheider losing just some parts of his aero work, but whilst all that was going on, Jamie Green was on his way up the road. Great heli shot there, and then in replay you can see Junkadea there, right behind Timo Scheider. Pascal Wehrlein and Paul de Resta were at it for the entire duration of the race, just about. Retirement for new to DTM for this year saw Tom Blomqvist sadly into the garage and being carted away unceremoniously with the car of Danny Junkadea before the first safety car was deployed in race 1 yesterday. Jamie Green then had to re-gap all over again, and he did so with style, being chased by Paul de Resta, and Pascal Wehrlein once again putting the pressure on Paul de Resta. Now this was Martin Tomczyk not at his best as he takes out the 2 art cars of Gary Paffett, and Lucas Auer had really nowhere to go and clattered into the side of the out of control Martin Tomczyk. This was Pascal Wehrlein's move on Paul de Resta. Paul de Resta with fading brakes towards the end of the race meant Pascal Wehrlein was able to take advantage of that, but Jamie Green was unfazed by anything that was going on behind him and sealed a superb victory. Jamie Green then, the Brit, takes first honours in DTM and took the checkered flag. P1 for Jamie Green, P2 Pascal Wehrlein, P3 Paul de Resta, and there was a delight all round. Jamie Green, Pascal Wehrlein. Let's hear from Jamie Green now as he celebrates with donuts.
One of my main goals was to win a race in an Audi. Obviously I joined with Audi 2 years ago. It's been a bit of an up and down couple of years, so just to steady things down and get a win under my belt's really good. And I think there's, you know, it's something I'm capable of doing regularly, so obviously it's a really hard championship, but I'm capable of these kind of performances and it's nice to show it.
Well, here is the grid in full for you, and it's somewhat different to what we expected. Mike Rockenfeller and Matthias Ekstrom with a Audi lockout on row 1. Then we see Marco Wittmann, current champion, and alongside him is Eduardo Mortara. To the next row of the grid as we see Miguel Molina and Martin Tomczyk, P5 and P6. As we work our way through the grid boxes, Antonio Felix da Costa, P7 with the Belgian star Maxime Martin alongside. Then it is Robert Wickens, the Canadian, with Paul de Resta alongside him for P9 and P10. Timo Scheider hurt his arm yesterday. He's racing today, P11, and Bruno Spengler, P12. Nico Muller runs from P13, and Timo Glock, Verena was speaking to, he will run from P14. Pascal Wehrlein, P15, further down than he would like, and Augusto Farfus, P16. Then we see yesterday's victor way down the grid, P17 for Jamie Green, with Lucas Au potentially alongside him. More to come. Max Gotts, P19, and Christian Vitoris then P20. Then it's Daniel Juncker-Deya, P21, with Tom Blomqvist alongside him, and bringing up the rear then is Gary Paffett and Adrian Tombe. Verena Wright is with our pole sitter, Mike Rockenfeller, right now.
I certainly am. He's already sat in the car. Okay, what a perfect qualifying today. It's the second qualifying of the season, already in pole position. So are you ready for victory?
Well, of course. I mean, it's the best place to be on the grid. We have dry conditions right now, so we have to wait. We have to wait till, yeah, if there's rain coming or not. I mean, this will be a crucial moment in the race. Strategy will be crucial with today that we have pit stop, mandatory one to do, and then possibility of safety car. So there's a lot of things, you know, which have to be right for us. But in general, we have a good position. I'm relaxed. I try my best and score as many points as I can.
Well, best of luck. Thank you so much, Rocky, and back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Verena. Now, we're saying the grid looks slightly different to that we expected. To explain more, I'm delighted. Alongside me is David Addison. Tell me more, please.
There are lots of things to catch up on. Miguel Molina had a penalty yesterday, which gave him a grid drop down to 5th on the grid. Augusto Farfus and Tom Blomqvist, their teams went for the wet tyres before they had the message on the timing screen from the race director that they could get hold of the wet tyres for qualifying this morning. There's a different message for admitting wet tyres to the session and the wet tyres boxes being open. You can't get the wet tyres and go and get them on the car until you're told
so
you
almost have to wait for admittance.
Correct.
Okay.
So they got a grid drop as a consequence, and then Gary Paffett and Adrian Tombe were both disqualified from qualifying because they did not run with the rear wing spacer that blocks the DRS during qualifying. DRS you use, but only in the race. In qualifying, there has to be this little spacer fitted to prevent it from working, preventing the wing from dropping. Neither car had that spacer, contravening the regulations. They'd excluded and put to the back of the grid. So there was a fair amount of woe at Mercedes during qualifying, and Gary's demotion to the rear of the grid hasn't exactly helped the mood, has it?
No, far from it. As we look at Timo Scheider there, this is Paul de Resta, who, until his brake started to fade, I think his brake balance was out of kilter towards the end of the race yesterday. Raced really, really well, did Paul de Resta, and he'll be hoping for much of the same today. Next up, we see Robert Wickens then. New permanent numbers to the DTM drivers for season 2015. Aerial shot of the Hockenheim circuit as we look at the starting grid for race 2 in DTM, the all-new DTM with double the action. And the order is this: Rockenfeller, Ekstrom, then it's Wittmann, Mortara, Molina, Tomczyk, Felix da Costa, then it is Martin, Wickens, de Resta, Scheider, Spengler, Muller, Glock, Wehrlein, Farfus, Green, Auer, Gotts, Vitoris, Juncker-Deya, Blomqvist, Paffett and Tombe. Now, I said earlier that potentially Lucas Auer. The reason I say potentially Lucas Auer is because, David,
he's not on the grid because he was in the gravel. On the installation lap round to the grid, Lucas Auer came into the stadium and just sailed straight off into the gravel. Now, it could have been that there was a problem with the car, a grabbing brake or a breakage, but unfortunately he is off in the gravel and the car is being worked on. Let's go back to the grid, though, and join Verena.
Yep, I'm here with Uli Fritz. Now, yesterday's qualifying for Mercedes was better with a 2 and a 5. Today, we've got the best Mercedes in P9, that's Wickens. Rather disappointing.
Yeah, I think we just messed it up by ourselves. We definitely had the pace, we saw it, but we just went into traffic. Then we were also just compromising ourselves in the qualifying when the cars caught up on each other. Just not a good qualifying like we would have expected it, and also a shame for Gary, who has to start from the back of the grid because we did a mistake with the DRS angle.
Yeah, that is very unfortunate because obviously we heard about that yesterday. Was a miserable day for Gary Paffett, and actually first he was in P8 in qualifying and now being pushed back. That is really, really terrible, and I'm sure, I mean, we all know Gary Paffett. I'm pretty sure he's very, very disappointed as well. Yeah,
of course, this is really sad for him, and we really feel with him. Things like that, unfortunately, they happen. They shouldn't happen, that's for sure. And the second time now, it's just, sorry for that.
All right, well, still, best of luck. Race is just ahead, so best of luck. Thank you very much, and back to you guys.
Verena, if only, was hoping to find out a little bit more about Lucas Au, who made that seemingly, and what we don't know is whether Lucas Au made a mistake or whether something broke on Lucas Au's car that sent him off on that installation lap.
No, we've had vision of it where it seemed to put a lot of rubber down on the road as he locked up, but whether it was just cold tyres, cold brakes, and he carried too much speed into that corner, we just don't know. But Lucas himself looked pretty mortified when he got out of the car on the grid. The car is in the pit lane. Jamie Green leading the championship. This is the result of yesterday's race, of course. Pascal Wehrlein second, and then Paul de Resta, Edo Mortara, Mike Rockenfeller and Nico Müller rounding out the top 6, with Maxime Martin 7th, his best finish since his win in Moscow last year. Points only in the top 10. Mike Rockenfeller, number 99, is the man on pole position. Yesterday, disappointing race for BMW. They're hoping for better today. Jens Marquardt, the boss of the teams, is with Verena.
Yeah, Jens Marquardt yesterday was not all that brilliant for BMW, but obviously today we've got another race ahead. Is looking a lot better with, of course, Wittmann in 4 and Tomczyk in 6. So you're hoping for a lot better race today.
Well, yesterday we didn't get qualifying sorted out, and in the race when you're starting really quite far back, it's a no-stop race. That was tough. We still accelerated quite well. We made, I think, with Augusto 13 and with Timo 12 positions, but it only was good enough for 7, 8, 9 something. Today cars are new deals, and I think it's interesting to see what the weather does. It will rain, I think, at some stage, so we just got to get our calls right, and I think there's a lot of potential in this race today.
A lot of potential, especially Marco really proved he's good in the rain, so maybe let's hope for some rain.
Yeah, I'm hoping for rain. I'm hoping for rain, and it will be a good entertainment and show for the people on TV and here in Hockenheim, so it will be an interesting race.
All right, thank you so much. Best of luck, Jens Marquardt, and maybe he'll do a little rain dance. So, back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena, very much. Well, a lot of people have been talking about rain, and we can see over that grandstand there, the black clouds looming, David. Everyone has been talking about rain, but it was supposed to be kind of consistent rain all day today, and it hasn't been that. We're on, we've got dry conditions now, haven't we? As we look at the circuit there, when's it going to come? Is it going to come? How is that going to affect the strategy with regards to the mandatory pit stop?
Good questions all. Answers don't know is the short answer, because we don't know when this rain's going to come, if it comes at all. Just to make the point, this is the longer race than yesterday. 40 minutes yesterday, 60 minutes today, and it's the time plus a lap. So 40 plus 1 lap, 60 minutes plus 1 lap today. This is the race with the mandatory pit stop. Now, the regulations will say that the maximum number of laps you can do on a set of slick tyres is 27. If you project the fact that we're anticipating this to be 39 racing laps, barring any safety cars, within that time allowance, your window effectively for a pit stop is between laps 12 and 27. So that's the unofficial pit window. But then, of course, if they're going to have to change onto wet tyres, the window goes out of the window altogether, because they're just going to have to come in and change tyres.
What we should also make clear is that the number of laps that you're mandated to use those tyres for changes from circuit to circuit as well.
It does indeed, and the only reason a wet tyre change would help you within that window I've just talked about is because it would save you a pit stop. If you make your tyre change and then you have to come in, as we saw at Ossersleben last year, for example, and do another stop to go onto wets, you're handicapping yourself by doing an extra stop. So it might be in this race that everybody goes as far as they can on the first set of tyres, hoping that the weather will come during the first 27 laps of the race. So when they get to the one pit stop they have to make, it will be onto wets. Rather than another set of slicks and then 3 laps later
got to come in again
back in. But it's all dependent on what the weather gods have in store, and you can pretty much guarantee that up and down the pit lane, all the engineers are going to be looking at some sort of weather forecast to try and work out exactly when it's going to come.
Okay, so we take a look at the drivers then, and there is Gary Paffett now. Dealt a blow, hasn't he, as he goes right to the back of the grid, but you know what? Just in some of Gary's most feisty races, if I can say that, is when the chips have been against him, and I just wonder whether that will prove to be an even greater motivation for him. We'll see him carve his way through the field today. Has to be said, after qualifying this morning, you and I and everyone else saw on camera and on screen just how unhappy Toto Wolff was with regards to how they did get it wrong and put their cars out into traffic, and they tripped over themselves.
There was one lap in particular that was looking good for Paul di Resta, and then he not only caught Mercedes driver Pascal Wehrlein in the stadium, but there was a yellow flag because Mercedes driver Danny Junqueira had a spin. Yeah. And it was a double whammy against Paul di Resta, and that really should have been a pole position lap. Having said that, in Mercedes' defence, people were still going quicker and quicker and quicker anyway. Yes. So even if that had been a good lap for Paul, there's a chance it would have been bettered by others because the road was wet and drying. So the times were getting quicker all the way to the very end. And that was not right at the very end of the session. So maybe they were perhaps pinning a bit too much of the hope on that.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So a new feature for 2015 is we're able to tune in to the race radio as well and the team radio, and that was Mike Rockenfeller with instructions as he heads towards his starting grid box. And there we can see Dieter Gas and all the Audi team in the garage as we cross our attention to Jens Marquardt on the very left-hand side of your screen there at BMW. And doubtless we'll also dip into the Mercedes garage as well with Toto Wolff there. And there is Wolfgang Ullrich. And everyone looks on in anticipation, and the excitement begins to build for this, the longer of the two new DTM races every weekend. As the lights go on, the engine note rises, so does the excitement. We're away and racing. Both Mike Rockenfeller and Matthias Ekström get away well. Looks like a great start for Antonio Felix da Costa also.
And a bad start by Molina. He was really sluggish away, so he's been swamped by the pack as they go through turn 1. Paffett's on the move, and he's all over the run-off tarmac, and so is Farfus. It's 3 abreast for the race lead. Ekström's got the jump on Wittmann. Rockenfeller is down to 3rd. Ecki will lead. Rockenfeller up the inside of Marco Wittmann, who's round the outside. Wittmann goes 2nd. Rocky 3rd. Mortara 4th.
So Matthias Ekström leads the race now from Marco Wittmann in P2. Then it is Mike Rockenfeller. And Mike Rockenfeller looking down there, making some adjustments as we run through the parabolica, heading up towards the hairpin. Matthias Ekström leads the race from Marco Wittmann. And Mike Rockenfeller and Marco Wittmann dives up the inside of Matthias Ekström. Now he might go wide now. No, he doesn't. He's held on to it.
Mortara's the man to watch as well. He's got 3rd off Rockenfeller there. But that was uncompromising stuff by Wittmann, and Ekström gave him just enough racing room. But Wittmann was utterly committed to that. He knew he had one chance at that, and he was going to have to take full advantage, but he's wide into the Mercedes arena. Ekström is right back on his tail. Locking up further back in the pack there was, I think, Vitoris as he tries to get up the inside of Glock, but it's Wittmann, Ekström, Mortara, Rockenfeller, the top 4 at the moment.
The two Brits together. Further back down the order was Jamie Green and Gary Paffett, we just saw on that previous shot as they come tumbling through now. This is fantastic stuff. There is Paffett trying to make his way up the order from the very, very rear of the grid. He's right alongside Jamie Green as we look at Augusto Farfus now with Timo Glock right behind him. But here comes our race leader. The champion is Marco Wittmann. At the moment, he leads this race as well.
End of lap 1 of the projected 39. It is Wittmann who leads from Ekström. The gap is half a second. 3rd is Mortara. 4th is Rockenfeller from pole. Bad first lap. 5th, it is Tomczyk. 6th is da Costa. 7th is Wickens. 8th is Molina. 9th is Spengler. 10th is Martin. And then it's Müller 11th. And 12th is Timo Scheider. Gary Paffett, looking further down the order, is in 21st place. Paul di Resta is in 14th. And what about Farfus? He is in 15th, also trying to work his way up from the back of the grid. Lucas Auer has not made it into the race. We've got 23 cars. Tombe has made good progress, and he's just managed to find his way up past Christian Vitoris.
So here comes our race leader, Marco Wittmann there. Matthias Ekström is tucked in behind in P2. Making a move on Antonio Felix da Costa there. No, not quite. Didn't happen. So around the hairpin they go. And there's someone running very, very wide. Didn't catch out who that was.
Thought that might have been Vittorius. Have a look at this going on for 7th and 8th places, heading down towards the Mercedes arena, because Robert Wickens there busy defending from Da Costa. Molina tries to look up the inside as well. Robert Wickens uncompromising in his defence. Bruno Spengler is in that pack as well in the black BMW, the BMW Bank M4. He's got Maxime Martin behind him. So this long line of cars, this battle pack into the stadium for the second time. Up front, Marco Wittmann is only just ahead of Matthias Ekstrom, and if Eki can stay there into the part of the race where DRS is enabled, he's going to be able to fight back. He's not losing too much time yet.
So race leader Marco Wittmann makes his way through the final turn and heads up towards the timing line. Wittmann leads from Matthias Ekstrom in P2. The roar through the home straight then as they pass our commentary position. There is the 1, 2, 3. In fact, all the cars you can see on screen now as they head through turn 2. Marco Wittmann absolutely committed on his move right at the very start of this race. And there he is, leading it now around the Parabolica.
But Ekstrom will not go away.
No.
Eki knows exactly what he's got to do, and that's sit tight up behind and then wait for the DRS, because that's his opportunity. And if he can get ahead without using it, even better. And here comes the attack, wide into the hairpin. He's got to get the undercut and go to the inside. Here he comes. He's almost in the back of him. They just touch. Ekstrom can't, therefore, get up the inside, heading down towards the next corner into the Mercedes arena, but he's got the pace.
He has got the pace, and to be fair, I think Marco Wittmann anticipated that move and just made sure he didn't leave enough room for Matthias Ekstrom just to get alongside, get his nose there.
But the danger is now that Ekstrom's stuck and he's being caught by Mortara, who's bringing Rockenfeller with him as well. So now it's building up to 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 for the lead, because Tomčik's on the back of this, and if they're all starting to concertina up behind Wittmann, it's going to be a long line of cars all squabbling into the stadium they come then. You're looking at the race leader, Marco Wittmann. BMW had a pretty torrid day yesterday, but things have been turned around, and Martin Tomčik, who yesterday drew attention to himself for all the wrong reasons, is currently going great guns in 5th spot. Mortara has done the best of anybody in Sector 1. That has brought him up onto the tail of Ekstrom, who is still tucked up behind Wittmann. You're riding with Timo Glock at the moment. He's in 16th place. The leader's through. It's still half a second, covering Wittmann and Ekstrom.
So don't forget to check out the more second screen features on DTM.com as DRS becomes enabled.
DRS enabled.
So Marco Wittmann being told that on team radio that DRS is enabled, and you have to be within a second of the car in front.
And a change for 10th place we just saw there. Nico Müller going ahead of Maxime Martin.
DRS is enabled.
Matthias Ekstrom gets the news as well. He will therefore be ready to try and use that to his advantage. Maxime Martin has dropped back into the clutches now. Pascal Wehrlein, and it is 5 for the lead. Look, they've all concertinaed up at the hairpin, and have a look at Da Costa up the inside of Wickens for 6th place. BMW and Mercedes, a sideways BMW. Wickens had better drive out of the corner despite the curve. Is he going to stay ahead as they run down towards us? On the inside is Da Costa. He goes through. The Portuguese driver through, and Ekstrom for the race lead. He's gone through on the inside there. Great move. Ekstrom back into the race lead. Now, can he escape?
And he needs to, because now that he's in front of Wittmann, Wittmann gets DRS. If you're the leading car, of course, you're not within 1 second of a car in front of you. You've got no DRS at all.
You can use DRS 3 times a lap, but you wouldn't use it through the stadium.
No.
Ekstrom has done a good thing there by getting the lead when he did, because he's deprived Wittmann of a chance to really retaliate until they get onto the pit straight, by which time Ekstrom can not only build a gap, he can also make sure, to an extent, that Mortara, who's got pace, is up behind Wittmann as well and can attack him. So now Wittmann has lost ground because he's got to defend against Mortara. This was the move.
So Matthias Ekstrom then gets the job done and gets ahead of Marco Wittmann.
And he has escaped. Look, he's pulled, what, 3-4 lengths, and Wittmann now is going to have to start thinking about defending from Mortara. Really good, clever driving that by Ekstrom to try and get the lead successfully where he did, and therefore deprive Wittmann of the chance to use the DRS to come back at him.
Years and years and years of experience there playing out, and well, Tomčik buying into this as well. And you can see the DRS wing there, right in the back of the car, being used by Tomčik then on Mike Rockenfeller ahead. And now Mike Rockenfeller takes a look at... oh, he runs a bit wide, to be fair, as he took a look at Mortara there, and also taking a look at Marco Wittmann at the same time. So much going on here.
That's the beauty of that hairpin, because there are so many different lines and so much can happen there. Ekstrom is the race leader, trying to make good his escape. I would suggest that he's not been able to pull much away on this lap because, of course, if Wittmann used the DRS, it's brought him back into the equation to an extent. But up front it is Ekstrom, and now Mortara is the man who Audi will pin some hopes on to distract Wittmann, to delay him, and let Matthias Ekstrom, double DTM champion, build this lead. Tomczyk closing up onto Rockenfeller as well.
So as we watch the pack of 5 then come through, let's get a replay of the start here, and it was a great start from both Ekstrom and Rockenfeller.
And Da Costa as well in the BMW that spears out to one side and then gets himself leveled with Robert Wickens, but Wickens had a good defence going into the first corner. Nico Müller runs wide over the curb, so does Farfus, and so does Paffett onto that runoff area as well. From a different angle, you can see the car streaming through, and those that just can't find space to get back into the queue, into the traffic, have to take, if you like, the slip road and go onto that runoff area. Rockenfeller was the real loser out of all of this. From pole position, a bad start. He's running in 4th now, and he just was not quick enough on his toes, was he?
No. And on board from Marco Wittmann then, we can see that shot now as he's right to the back of Mike Rockenfeller, and now Matthias Ekstrom, well, able to get away a little bit from Marco Wittmann, but Wittmann closes up under heavy braking for the hairpin then, and so too the 3 cars behind, and Tomczyk looking very racy in this as well. He's got Mike Rockenfeller right ahead of him.
DRS kicks in, also lower down. Molina was having a look there to try and get past Robert Wickens. We'll see on the next long shot of the field whether he's achieved in that. Rockenfeller is very busy because he's got Tomczyk behind him, and Molina has got past Robert Wickens, so we've had a change there. Look for 7th place, Audi ahead of Mercedes.
Just looking down the screen now, a story that we half told you before the race started was the fact that Lucas Auer had problems, and don't think he's actually out there. Didn't make it from the pit lane, did he? That car parked up in the garage.
Race leaders through the stadium. Here is a replay of Tomczyk having a look at Rockenfeller, but more importantly, Molina at the inside of Wickens and runs him out wide. So Robert Wickens tries to stand his ground, but eventually he just runs out of road, and a sideways Spengler behind, also putting the power down very early to try to make some opportunistic gain out of that little moment ahead of him. The leaders have gone by, and Ekstrom is now leading by 0.8 of a second, but Mortara is the fastest man on the circuit. In 3rd place, he's just done the best lap of the race. I don't know about you, Dave, but I would suggest, looking out of the window, that it's just starting to get a bit greyer.
Yes, I was going to say it's a bit darker now, and well, we'll wait and see what the weather and how the weather is going to play into this race, the race that's being led by Matthias Ekstrom. 8-second margin over Marco Wittmann. There you can see the DRS rear wing being used by Martin Tomczyk then, as he tries to get ever closer to Mike Rockenfeller, but Mike Rockenfeller being within a second of Eduardo Mortara is allowed to use his DRS, and he can use that as much in defence as he can attack at this particular stage.
Yeah, the one loser is the leader, because he can't really use that DRS because he's got no one to rate it against, and therefore he's being caught back up. So it's through the stadium where Ekstrom has really got to try and work hard to build that lead, to prevent Wittmann getting close enough. Bits of the Audi, little aero tabs, fly from Mike Rockenfeller's car. I wonder how much that's going to affect it over the course of a long-hour race like this. Certainly he's dropped back from Mortara. There's the next queue. Da Costa, Molina, Wickens, Spengler, Müller, Martin, Scheider, Wehrlein, De Resta, Farfus, Glock, Vitoris, Jamie Green behind as well. The leading quintet through the stadium. We're currently working lap 7 in this 60-minute plus 1 lap, which should get us to about 39 laps, all being well, barring any safety cars, barring a change in conditions. And the race leader, Matthias Ekstrom, winner here at the back end of last year, goes over the timing line. He's just done the fastest lap of the race, and he is now 1 second ahead of the opposition. If he carries on like this over the next third of the lap, he's going to have extended so that the DRS won't help Wittmann.
On board with Pascal Wehrlein. And there is, you can see it on screen, just how much of a gap Ekstrom has been able to eke out. 1:35.810, his last lap. So Ekstrom, Wittmann, Mortara, Rockenfeller. Then it is Tomczyk in P5 as we look at Timo Glock now. And the ahead of him is Augusto Farfus as Marco Wittmann comes under attack, and so too does Mike Rockenfeller as Martin Tomczyk is right alongside him. They are absolutely side by side. Rocky's got to remain absolutely flat here, hasn't he, to try and nose out Martin Tomczyk. Tomczyk has done enough, or has he?
He has, because he cuts across. Rockenfeller needs the switchback, but I think Tomczyk will cover the line. Yes, he will. And all that started when Rockenfeller tried to make a move against Mortara. That failed, and he left himself wide open to a challenge from Martin Tomczyk. Mortara is still attacking Wittmann, and who's the real beneficiary out of all of this? Ekstrom, because look at the lead he's now pulled.
Absolutely right, as these are all fighting among themselves. It is playing into the hands of Matthias Ekstrom as we see him replay the two moves going on here, but the Martin Tomczyk one, and he definitely shut the door there as Mike Rockenfeller tried to come back at him. It wasn't going to happen, and Matthias Ekstrom gets that job done. Rocky now dives to the outside. Ekstrom away up the road.
He leads now, Dave, by 1.8 seconds. So Ekstrom is making good his escape. Timo Scheider has just done the fastest lap of the race down in 11th spot. Scheider's next target, fellow Audi driver Nico Müller. But there is the race leader, Matthias Ekstrom, ahead of Wittmann, who is very busy defending now.
And Wittmann, of course, is now going to be non-DRS.
Correct. Yeah.
So that is going to play into the hands of Mortara, isn't it?
And in the pit lane, they're starting to look to the heavens. It's got chillier. The wind has picked up a little bit. It's certainly getting greyer. And Wittmann and Mortara arrive side by side, and through goes Mortara, benefiting from DRS, but Wittmann will come back at him under braking. Gap on the inside, can he take advantage? No, he can't. What about Tomczyk on Wittmann? No, he can't make that move work either. Lower down the order, though. There, look, there is a move. Scheider's ahead of Müller. And Jamie Green's also making progress, and he's just muscled his way up one spot as well. Jamie Green through on the inside to gain ground. So, Tomczyk on Wittmann now for the BMW honours.
Yes. So just as Marco Wittmann lost out on any DRS, that was when Mortara was able to use that huge advantage. And there you can see the two BMW drivers together, Marco Wittmann and Tomczyk. Quick blast of team radio from Mike Rockenfeller there. And there you can see the wing deployed. And we see it from another angle.
So Matthias Ekstrom now 2.1 seconds ahead of Mortara. Wittmann is down to third. Tomczyk fourth. Rockenfeller fifth.
Gap to Ido 2.1. Gap to Ido now 2.1.
The team confirming Ekstrom's lead gap 2.1. So that gives Matthias a little bit of security. He knows that he's away now from the risk of being passed by DRS from anybody behind him. Mortara second, and of course, while Wittmann is defending third from Tomczyk, so Mortara is getting away. Tomczyk, in turn, wants to try and get past Wittmann before Rockenfeller catches back up. Rocky, of course, lost ground early on after that poor-ish start, and we know there's a bit of damage to his car. Maybe that little fleck of bodywork we saw come off has had more of an impact than you might expect, because he just doesn't look as racy as he needs to be to buy back into this yet.
And whilst these cars look rugged and supreme, we can see umbrellas beginning to go up now. The point I was going to make, actually, these cars are very fragile. They're supreme pieces of engineering, aren't they?
Absolutely right. How far can they go on slick tyres, though, if it's starting to get wet?
Drizzle for 10 minutes, for sure. Drizzle for 10 minutes.
Drizzle for 10 minutes. Now, they're on slicks, but they're on warm slicks.
Yes.
If the drizzle isn't too bad, the warm tyres will still be able to work. Just depends how much of this drizzle, whether it's heavy, whether it's light, how much of that we get. And if it's only going to be drizzle for 10 minutes and then dry up, then they'll all be well advised to just tiptoe around and stay out there. But for now, because of the temperature of the tyres, they're still going to be good for grip.
Okay, so drizzle for 10 minutes. We were advised by Team Radio. That's what we're going to get, so we will see. Ekstrom's lead's come down a little bit. He's lost 3/10.
But in part, he's the pioneer, isn't he? So now at every corner, he's got to find out the grip levels. And Wittmann there up on the curb. It is certainly slippery. And Rockenfeller has locked up. And there it's very slippery. And Wittmann's going to lose his place. Tomczyk goes through. Tomczyk's gone third. And certainly up at turn 2, it's far more slippery. So there is Mortara. Tomczyk has closed on him. I was trying to explain that Ekstrom is the pioneer. He's trying to find the conditions on corner by corner. He's the first one to get there. Others can, in theory, judge their pace against his, but it all unravelled behind him. So you're looking at second, third, fourth. Tomczyk, what a turnaround after yesterday's red-facedness. Here he is, as now the best of the BMW drivers in third and all over the back of Mortara.
And this from being on board with Marco Wittmann. As you can see, they ran wide. Track conditions perhaps catching them out. Mike Rockefeller really piling the lock on there as well in replay, as we can see.
The trouble is, if the guy ahead of you makes a mistake and you're judging your pace against his, you're going to go with him. So Wittmann then down behind Tomczyk now. Rockefeller 5th and still not looking 100% happy. These conditions, in a sense, ought to play to Ekstrom's advantage. He's done lots of rallying and rally cross as well, so it's good on any terrain. Through the stadium they come, up towards the Sachs curve at the end of the lap. On board with Wittmann, he's 4th.
So great shot that we're able to bring you, but here comes our race leader that crosses the timing line now. Let's see what the gap is. Back to Edo now, 2.9. So he's built a huge bit back, hasn't he?
He has. I mean, he was helped in part by Mortara running wide up at turn 2, granted, but even so, Ekstrom is certainly pushing hard. No doubt about that. The rest of the field filed through. There's no suggestion, though, yet of a team wanting a car in. Nobody in the pit lane thinking about bringing wets out.
To Edo, 2.9 seconds. 2.9, you're 1 second quicker.
It's getting slipperier.
Copy, Martin.
So there's another look at what happened a lap ago up at turn 2, and certainly that was where people were caught out. Some more spots of rain on the camera lens up at the hairpin as Mortara runs wide, but he might be looking for grip in doing that. He certainly comes out of the corner, safe still ahead of Tomczyk. You do get the feeling that it's not a consistent amount of drizzle that's fallen around the circuit. Some places looking more treacherous than others.
Yes.
Mortara 2nd here has got Tomczyk right up behind him, and Mortara runs a little wide there, but Tomczyk not able to nip up the inside.
You're absolutely right, what you said earlier.
Copy, Edo. Lap times are not quick enough. Lap times are not slow enough for wets yet.
So clearly, Edo was inquiring with regards to wets. I was going to say, from...
Copy, Martin. We're still tracing the line.
Mortara in this time. Mortara says on the radio he's coming in. He feels it's wet enough. The engineer was saying, no, it's not, because the lap times aren't slow enough. And also Wittmann has come in as well. So this is within the window.
Seconds we have. Lap time 1 minute 41. How is the track? The drizzle will stay like it is.
Answer comes then on from Ekstrom for the moment. The lap times are
very, very slippery.
You want to go on rain tires with low pressures? Rain tires, low pressures question? Please repeat, you want to pit now?
It's a very distorted radio message back from Ekstrom, and that is what the team is struggling with as well, whether he's wanting to pit or not. So Ekstrom is here. Now, just to recap.
Box or not, Matthias? Box or not?
Still don't really know whether that's yes or no.
No, but I think he's going to have to, because the lap times are going up, and the danger is that because the lap times are going up, those that have got onto wets now are going to be able to have an advantage. Tomczyk sideways in 2nd, but they're tiptoeing round. He's getting wetter and wetter and wetter. We'll catch a glimpse in a moment of what Ekstrom's line is when he comes out of the last corner. You can see how people have all concertinaed up, as some are braver than others. Ekstrom is coming through the Sachs curve, and he's coming into the pit lane. So the answer is box, and that means pit box. In other words, come into the pit lane. So Ekstrom is in. He will go onto wets. The leader is in.
So is Tomczyk.
Yeah, and so is Rockenfeller. And the one that stays out and will take over the lead is Moliner. And Da Costa stays out. He'll go 2nd. Scheider stays out, and he'll go 3rd. So all of this is going to make for another fascinating jumbled race. Who has called it right by staying out?
Just before all the team radios that we heard there, I was gonna say that from zero to heroes, that man, Martin Tomczyk, who's driven a blinder so far today.
But Mortara is about to go through and get ahead of Ekstrom. So Mortara takes the race lead away from Ekstrom. So Mortara, by pitting earlier, comes out ahead of Ekstrom. You've got cars ahead still on slick tyres, but Eduardo Mortara, in real terms, is the leader of the race. He's the best of those that have made a pit stop.
Absolutely. So his call was the right one.
It was because Ekstrom lost too much time tiptoeing round on that very wet inlet. You see, that's where he's lost the time. Meanwhile, up at turn 2, Wickens goes wide, Spengler gains ground, Farfus tries to buy into it. It's getting wetter and wetter, particularly up there. From where we are on the pit straight, it doesn't look that bad.
No.
It looks greasy, but certainly in other parts of the circuit, it looks horrible. So we'll run down the race order at the end of this lap, but those that have stayed out, and there are 2 of them, Da Costa and Scheider, are they going to pit this time? Mortara then has got himself into the lead of the race at the expense of Ekstrom, and Wittmann, of course, has managed to jump Tomczyk on the pit stops because of coming in earlier.
Just seen from our commentary position, we've not seen it on screen yet, that Adrian Tombe appears to have retired the car.
Yes, he was a long way back, wasn't he, when he came in as well. He was way out of sequence from anybody else. And you're right, he is in the pit lane. Doesn't look like he's going much further. So Molina Slicks leads. Second is Da Costa, Slicks. Third is Scheider. And look now how much ground Mortara has caught back up by.
Absolutely.
They're going to have to come in, otherwise their races will be ruined here. Oof. Great car control from Molina, but look now the advantage the wet tyres has. I mean, Mortara is just gobbling up the gap to Scheider, blasts through on the inside. That might hurt Timo if he wants to get into the pit lane, because he's going to try and duck across. Oh, that was a bit harum-scarum. They all make it through on the relevant lines. Molina is in, so now Mortara versus Ekstrom over the line. Mortara leads Ekstrom, Dave, by 0.8 of a second. It's game on between the 2 Audis.
It is. It's a real Audi battle at the front now. And there you see the race-leading car and the spray that's now being chucked up behind that car, indicative of just how much rain is falling now. And still here on the start-finish straight, it doesn't look to be that severe, but clearly it is, as we see Timo Glockner and very nearly a clatter together between the 2 BMWs, so Tom Blomqvist and Maxime Martin. Was that an unsafe release by Martin's team?
I think so. I'm sure it'll be looked at. Yes. It was, wasn't it? Because it was Blomqvist that had to stop, and Jamie Green almost piled into the back, and then Glock was impeded ever so slightly, so yes. But that's the danger you see of doing it, everybody coming in on the same lap. The race lead gap has come down, has it not? Because there you can see Ekstrom is getting nearer to Mortara. It is certainly wetter up at the north end of the circuit now. Down to the Mercedes Tribune can the Audis. It is Eduardo Mortara leading the way from Matthias Ekstrom in second spot. I'm still tempted to suggest that Ekstrom is a better bet for a win here, partly because of his early race pace, partly because of his prowess on all sorts of surfaces with his rally and rallycross experience. It's going to be a great duel between these 2, and Wittmann, although he's there in third, is just starting to drop away a bit now.
Okay, so it is fight on between Eduardo Mortara and Matthias Ekstrom. As Mortara, that will hurt him a little bit, and that just plays into the hands of Matthias Ekstrom, who, car number 36, Maxime Martin, under investigation for the unsafe release, which we called just a few moments ago. So Matthias Ekstrom, as David has said, with experience of all sorts of different racing surfaces and racing disciplines and conditions, he's right on the back of Eduardo Mortara. In my opinion, it's a question of when, not if. Matthias Ekstrom has a go at retaking the lead of this race away from Eduardo Mortara as they cross the line now. The margin between them is just 0.3, and Maxime Martin gets a drive-through penalty for that unsafe release. So that's really going to compromise his race from P13 at the moment, as we're watching P1, P2, and just into picture is the BMW of Marco Wittmann, who is P3, but the real fight on between these 2. It's Matthias Ekstrom in P2, chasing down Eduardo Mortara. The Parabolica, they're heading towards the hairpin now. Wonder if Matthias Ekstrom is quite close enough to have a go here, and of course he's got the his visibility is compromised by the spray being chucked up by Eduardo Mortara's car, but he gets oh so close right now. Will he dive up the inside? No, he's not close enough.
Bear in mind as well, in the wet, the DRS is disabled, so he can't count on that. So this has got to be on pace and driver ability, hasn't it, at the moment? Ekstrom certainly is closer, but what he wants to do is perhaps find the optimum point to challenge. The danger is that to do the overtaking, you've got to go offline where it's a bit wetter. Can he get up the inside here? The answer is going to be no. Mortara has the drive out of the corner. The next thing to monitor is the lap times to see whether or not the track is starting to dry out and whether they're going to need to come back in and change onto slicks before the very end. I don't think that's a factor yet, but we'll just keep an eye to it as the leading Audis, almost nose to tail, work their way into the stadium. Down towards the hairpin now into the long looping left. Ekstrom is certainly close enough to have a go if he can just find the room.
Closer than ever before then in this quest to try and retake the lead of this race as Mattias Ekström just keeps his car in a position where Edo Mortara is going to be harried by that. And up the start-finish straight they come now, and Mattias Ekström really diving from side to side now to try and find an opportunity.
Turn 2's his chance, isn't it? Because we know that that's an overtaking place. If he can force himself up the inside or even just close under braking, then he's going to be well poised to make the run through the parabolica. Let's see, he's not close enough to make a move there, but he might force a mistake out of Mortara, who does go a bit deep, but he covers the line, chops across the front, so Ekström is close. Now the run down to the hairpin. This is the golden opportunity.
He's closer now, isn't he, on the run down to the hairpin? Is this when Mattias Ekström is going to make his move to try and retake the lead? Indeed he does. He tries to dive up the inside of Eduardo Mortara. There you can see the spray coming out from those cars, but Ekström, king of the late breakers there, that's for sure.
Unless Mortara can get the switch back, which he's going to try to do, but right line, but he wasn't close enough. Golden pass, that by Mattias Ekström. Perfectly done. Ekström takes over the advantage. Ekström back into the race lead. Mortara second, riding shotgun now as Mattias Ekström worked his way back into the race lead. Now we're going to see, of course, whether he's able to build this gap.
Here it is in replay then. He just set that up absolutely perfectly. But he braked so much later than Eduardo Mortara.
So as they come out of the hairpin, up front now, new order. It is Ekström ahead of Mortara. And then what's going on for third? It's Marco Wittmann, who is there or thereabouts in a huge gap, isn't it, between the top three. And then Martin Tomczyk and Mike Rockenfeller take the top five from earlier and jumble them around a little bit. Bruno Spengler has really benefited because he's up into sixth now. Robert Wickens is seventh, and Gary Paffett from 23rd on the grid is up into 8th place. The way that he's going, it won't be long before he's up past the Canadian. What a drive by Paffett.
Well, I did wonder whether, you know, the way his weekend has gone, whether he was really going to have the bit between his teeth at the start of this race. And, well,
there's your answer.
I think that's been proven, hasn't it? Toto Wolff with his wife Susie alongside, and saw a smile from him from a moment ago. Don't see that often this weekend, do we?
That was the smile this weekend. There haven't been many, as you rightly say. Still very wet out there, isn't it? Certain parts of the circuit. And at the moment, they're lapping in the 1:49s. The lap times are still slow, and you can see why as we look at the battle now for 7th place. Robert Wickens in the orange and silver Mercedes ahead of the Euronics car of Gary Paffett, driving for the new to the DTM ART team, Frederic Vasseur's squad, with a mega track record in single-seater racing and indeed recently running McLaren MP4 12Cs in GT racing. Now, Paffett's not near enough to challenge at the hairpin, but he is inching up onto the back of Wickens. Closes a little. Is he going to be able to duck up the inside? Don't think so, but he's going to try and tighten the line. No, Wickens has that covered.
Well,
okay, message will be passed to Wickens.
A message will be passed to Wickens.
But let Paffett by, let Paffett by.
Gary is the quicker, so it makes sense for Mercedes, and Robert Wickens runs a little bit deep into the corner. Up the inside goes Gary Paffett, job done, and straight away, Gary on his toes, he's going to pull away, isn't he?
Indeed so. So Gary Paffett then on a charge. Next in his target sights will be Bruno Spengler. So driving like a demon, Gary Paffett.
There's Farfus ahead of Jamie Green, ahead of Timo Glock, because as they work their way down towards the stadium, 9th, 10th, 11th, Jamie Green into the top 10. Not a bad damage limitation exercise after qualifying, which didn't go his way at all.
Oh, how right you are.
P7, 29 minutes, which is 20 laps.
29 minutes, which is 20 laps, which is taking us towards the 39 that we were projecting at the start. So Mercedes agree, roughly, with our calculations. Over the timing line comes Farfus. Got Molina in the middle of all of that. Now, don't forget, Molina was one of those drivers that stayed out a lap longer, 2 laps longer than some, a lap longer than Ekström, and it's hurt him. He's down in 12th place.
So Augusto Farfus, Jamie Green and Timo Glock that we see there.
Green up the inside of Farfus, Molina up the inside of Glock. Green tried to get alongside the Shell Helix Ultra BMW of Farfus, but yesterday's winner can't find a way by, and Jamie Green has to slot back in. But of course, the hairpin approaches.
Neither of those two moves worked, did they? Let's see if they will as they head towards the hairpin now, and Pascal Wehrlein's in that as well. Very obvious look in the mirror there from Timo Glock. Jamie Green then tries to dive up the inside. Farfus has to give him racing room. Green goes through. So too does Timo Glock, and Timo Glock on Jamie Green now. But Jamie Green covers that. He'd got enough momentum. Timo Glock supremely advantageous there.
Yeah, really opportunistic stuff, wasn't it? So Farfus gets mugged. He's lost 2 places. And Miguel Molina now tries to line up to have a go on the inside. He's going to go through. He's got the racing room. He'll have the inside line for the next corner. Can he run Farfus out wide? No, he can't. The BMW stays ahead, and now Wehrlein tries to buy into all of this as well. Molina covers that line. He's trying to attack and defend at the same time. Pascal Wehrlein, 13th, and desperate to improve.
There are parts of this circuit that really do look utterly drenched, as opposed to others which don't look quite so rain affected. Jamie Green then in car number 53, his permanent number then as Pascal Wehrlein and Augusto Farfus and Molina there swap places.
So Farfus is tumbling down the order. He was 9th at the start of the lap, and it's going from bad to worse for him. Ekstrom leading Mortara now by 3.3 seconds. The man to watch is Tomczyk, because he's closing on Wittmann. Here's the Jamie Green, Timo Glock battle that's going to be almost overlapping as they head down to turn 1. This is for 9th and 10th places.
So Jamie Green at the moment has it covered, but they're heading up towards turn 2 now. Can Timo Glock get ever closer? We look at him at work then inside the car. Further down the order, I think Augusto Farfus losing another place. And that's Pascal Wehrlein that has gone through, and also going through is Timo Scheider.
Something is not right, I fear, with Farfus's car now. It's losing all pace, isn't it? Bruno Spengler has got Gary Paffett up behind him, so Gary has carved his way into contention. 2 drivers who've won the DTM title. Gary Paffett gives Spengler a bit of a nudge, but Bruno controls it in these slippery conditions. Paffett did push him from behind, but it wasn't a massive nudge, was it? But it was enough just to unsettle the BMW.
Copy, Bruno. Copy.
So the team saw it, the team heard the message. Whether or not any action's going to be taken about that, who knows? Driving these sorts of cars on this sort of surface is not easy. I'm sure Gary Paffett didn't do that as a deliberate nudge. It was just that the power came down, the car sort of squirmed a little bit. These things do happen. But Bruno Spengler, for the moment, is hanging on to that 6th place. But this is one of Gary's typically feisty drives. Let's have another look at it. There's the gap on the inside. It's only a pretty tiny nudge, that.
Yes.
Timo Glock, Jamie Green, that's changed.
Yes,
Glock up to 9th.
Got past him, hasn't he?
But for how much longer? Because he's having a wobble in that replay. And as the cars head towards the timing line, we'll see whether he's been able to stay ahead. Yes, he has. Timo Glock is still ahead of Jamie Green, despite looking like he was on the edge of adhesion going into the stadium there. We have done 20 laps. Ekstrom is now leading by 4.8 seconds. Spengler versus Paffett, you're looking at for 6th place.
Well, a monster drive from Gary Paffett then as he challenges Bruno Spengler now and dives up the inside, and there is contact between the 2 of them. Paffett able to hold on? Yes, he is, and Bruno Spengler gets relegated a further place.
Wait for the radio message now from Spengler, because that was a bit more brutal. Again, I don't think it was deliberate, but Gary Paffett there, I'm afraid, made heavier contact. Let's have a look at it. There is a gap, but Spengler's turning in as Gary is still getting into his braking zone. And again, 2 different trajectories kind of cross over, so they meet in the middle. And at Mercedes, the attitude is this. BMW's attitude will be different. Paul di Resta's had a spin.
Keep pushing, Bruno. No problem, no problem. Keep pushing. Watch your mirror for weekends behind you. Weekends.
So Bruno being advised then that he will have Robert Wickens for company next. But whilst all that is going on, with a lead that is some just under 5 seconds, is this man, Matthias Ekstrom, driving like an utter star.
I mean, he was doing a good job yesterday until he had minor contact and had a puncture, so he had to come in and change tyres. And in the end, Matthias Ekstrom's race rather unravelled, and he ended up in 12th out of the points. This is synchronised spinning, Nico Müller and Paul di Resta. Müller's Audi, di Resta's Mercedes we'd already seen, and it was because Müller whacked into Paul di Resta. It's a big old hit. So both of them compromised. Müller is 18th now, di Resta 16th.
Okay, we could gamble with the safety car and stop for a different set. Well, we may as well do something,
So the tyre's not working for di Resta, and of course now he's had that impact, the car will be compromised as well with damage to the setup, so this is not a good race for Paul di Resta, that is for sure. Now, Bruno Spengler has been caught by Robert Wickens. It's getting wetter. The amount of spray on the pit straight now is considerable, certainly compared to how it was a couple of laps ago.
And this is Robert Wickens on Bruno Spengler then. So Robert Wickens, this is heading up towards the hairpin. I think Robert Wickens through the spray has already got the job done, or has he? As Bruno Spengler fights back there, absolutely side by side, heading towards the hairpin. Bruno Spengler is able to hold on to this line and shut the door so that Wickens can't get the switch back, and indeed, it's worked.
Good driving by Spengler, that.
Tire pressure, Bruno, when you can, check the tire pressure. If they are okay, keep pushing. If they are okay, keep pushing. You're doing a good job.
He is doing a good job because he's managed to hang on to that place despite the fact the weather conditions are getting worse and worse. Look at Wittmann, he's been caught now by Tomczyk. That I'd mentioned a few laps ago was happening, it's happened. And we've also had Paul di Resta into the pit lane for another set of tyres. He's gone back out again now. But the tyre pressures were set for a drizzly Hockenheim. Now it's a wet Hockenheim.
Yes.
And that's the other thing that the teams are now trying to convey to the drivers. It might be that we have another round of pit stops for a different pressured set of wets before the end, especially if the conditions are going to deteriorate like they are now.
Whilst everything that has been going on, and plenty has been going on, as we see Tomczyk there on our champion, have we seen Maxime Martin take his drive-through penalty?
I don't think we have. We're about to get one for Nico Müller because he has been adjudged to have caused that collision against Paul di Resta.
I'm not sure Martin has been in for his drive-through.
He has. He's shown us 2 pit stops. I must confess I didn't see it, but he has been.
Me neither then.
He has been through the pit lane, yes.
Apologies to Maxime Martin then. Obviously he did take his drive-through penalty. We're watching Tomczyk on Marco Wittmann then. This the battle for P3.
And have a look behind as well, if you can peer through the spray, because I reckon Paffett is up with Rockenfeller now pretty much. There at the back of the shot they are. Yeah. Tomczyk makes his move on Wittmann up the inside for third place into the hairpin. Tomczyk's got to get it slowed down, slowed down right to the very edge of the road where there might be a bit more grip. Perfect job. But have a look at GP. Gary Paffett now is right on the tail of Rockenfeller.
He is. He's got ever closer, hasn't he? What an outstanding drive it's been from Gary Paffett. Bear in mind he started right from the very, very back of the grid.
Extra Mortara, Tomczyk, Wittmann, Rockenfeller, Paffett is now the top 6. And Paffett through, he's ahead of Rockenfeller, just like that, up the inside. 5th place from 23rd on the grid for Gary Paffett, and he's not done yet.
Extraordinary racing.
Podium for Paffett, prediction.
Okay. On board with Mike Rockenfeller then, who now sees that Euronics Mercedes ahead of him. And there is Bruno Spengler, who hasn't yet got Robert Wickens right for company.
Paffett straight away onto the tail of Marco Wittmann.
Well, we said yesterday that the pace appeared to be there with the Mercedes cars, didn't we? And I think the weather conditions really playing into their hands now. And Gary Paffett, with all his years of experience, is driving like an utter demon.
You also get the feeling, maybe, that Mercedes was confident the rain was going to come. Yeah. It's gone for a setup that's going to be good for very wet weather, whereas others perhaps have gone for a halfway house and it's not as good.
He is gaining on him all the time. Look at this, he's going to pass him.
The move's going to come up at turn 2, up the inside. Gary Paffett goes through, takes the place away from Wittmann. And he made that, given the conditions, look very easy. I'm sure it's not, but Gary Paffett did a great job there, and straight away he's pulling away.
Next up is Tomczyk,
P4, Tomczyk ahead is the next target, and the gap is 2.6 seconds. Farfus, by the way, just into the pit lane. We saw him losing pace a few laps ago, and Farfus, the Brazilian driver, into the pits. This is Paffett up at the hairpin.
Well, and he has Tomczyk within his sights as well, so that will be next. And, yeah, Farfus in.
It's interesting, another set of wets.
Another set of wet weather's going on there. And I think you've nailed this correctly. I think what's happened is Mercedes-Benz have looked at this and they've looked at the weather predictions, haven't they? And potentially they have gone for a setup which is more appropriate for, you know, full wet weather rather than just drizzle affected. And at the moment, if the conditions change, of course, you can alter things.
Indeed so. Bear in mind as well, he's not going to be able to drive the car. Gary's doing a tremendous job, isn't he?
Fantastic.
No argument about that. This was the move on Rockenfeller. Have a look, up the inside. Fantastic. Perfect move, that. Rockenfeller powerless to retaliate. This was Gary on Marco Wittmann up at turn 2. And again, just a masterclass in overtaking in the wet. And the Mercedes engineers appreciate that as well. And don't forget that
11 laps remaining, 11 laps remaining.
11 laps remaining, so we're aiming at 36 now. 36 laps because the pace is slower because of the wet, so that all tallies. 2 seconds it is between Tomczyk and Paffett. You heard the message being relayed. And there's Wickens on the back of Spengler.
You're quicker than Montara in front of you, but Paffett is quite a bit quicker behind you.
Well, we just saw Tomczyk have a bit of a wobble there, didn't we?
17 minutes left, 17.
Spengler working hard to stay ahead of Wickens at the moment. Robert Wickens has got the pace, but Spengler's doing a good job of defending. I was going to get to the point that this could be a maiden podium in the DTM for ART Grand Prix as well if Paffett gets up into third place. Wickens is level with Spengler. You can see on that shot how wet it is because of the spray. Wickens is ahead, but Spengler's got the inside line into the hairpin. He's not going to give up without a real fight. Spengler still has the inside line, runs Wickens to the very outside of the road, and the BMW will claim the inside line for the next corner. Spengler stays ahead. Really strong defence here. He may not actually be as quick as Wickens, but he's got a very wide car.
So, Bruno Spengler and Robert Wickens together there. Right, there is Tomczyk, there is Gary Paffett then. Gary Paffett, who has driven an utter brilliant race thus far in extremely challenging conditions and is just picking them off one by one. Marco Wittmann and Mike Rockenfeller there. So the Ice Watch BMW of the champion and former champion Mike Rockenfeller, who we ride on board with now. Just wonder whether the rain is beginning to ease off a little bit now. Maybe, maybe not.
I think we've had so much of it that even if it does, the road is still going to be wet to the very end, isn't it?
I think you're right.
So what was light drizzle to begin with has certainly turned into rain and has certainly added to what's been another enthralling race. Yesterday was lively, maybe a little bit too gung-ho at times because we had a lot of people retiring with damage. Surprisingly, despite the conditions, we haven't needed the safety car. We haven't had all the dramas, have we, in this, that we had yesterday in the dry. Rockenfeller still hunting down Wittmann. Spengler still doing a great job of keeping Robert Wickens behind, and he's got to do it for another 15 minutes.
Yes, supreme defence we've seen from Bruno Spengler, but Robert Wickens is not giving up his charge against him as once again he lines up the black BMW. Look at the spray that's being chucked up from those cars, and he moves out, dives back in, and now goes for the inside. Robert Wickens on Bruno Spengler. Now, is Spengler going to get him back up the inside here? I think he is. He's got the momentum, hasn't he? And Robert Wickens, well, it was bold, it was ambitious, but it wasn't going to work.
Not on a master like Spengler. Bruno tricked him into that, didn't he? He gave him the room and said, come on, up you come. Spengler, though, runs a little bit wide into the Mercedes arena. This could be Wickens' chance on the inside, and he's gone through, and this time Spengler can go back and in. Yes, Wickens ran so wide he had to sort himself out, and again, Spengler does it. So what he's done is kind of allow Wickens that opportunity, invites him up the inside. Have a look at this. Spengler gives him enough racing room. He knows Wickens is going to take it. He knows that Wickens will want to level with him. Then by the time he brakes, he's gone too deep into the corner. Spengler was harder on the brake, swings up the inside, nails the throttle, job done.
It's brilliant to watch.
It's why the manufacturers all want real stars in the DTM. Bruno Spengler's tiny mistake there, just aquaplaned, isn't he, going through into the Mercedes arena. That gave Wickens the chance, but again, it was the same situation. Carried the speed into the corner, ran wide, back up the inside with Spengler. Wittmann versus Rockenfeller for fifth place, I should say. At 6/10 is the margin. And there Spengler continues on his way. Now for third place, Tomczyk versus Paffett. They're almost together.
Yes, Paffett is right on him now, isn't he?
Tomczyk is half a second quicker.
So let's see now. There is Martin Tomczyk in the BMW, and there is Gary Paffett in the Euronics Mercedes then. through the spray. They head up towards the hairpin. Gary Paffett lines up the 77 car, goes very, very wide. He's going to try and cut inside now. Tomczyk, to be fair, wise to it and got good drive out.
And there's a score to be settled here from yesterday, isn't
there? Just
there is no love lost. Gary was particularly vocal in his condemnation of Martin Tomczyk's driving. So when he does make the move, it's got to be a clean pass, hasn't it? Otherwise, there'll be a bit of egg on face. But Gary Paffett has driven such a stormer, and he's not put a wheel wrong. You'd anticipate this to be a place to be gained before too many more corners have been driven. He's sideways there, however, coming out of the Mercedes arena, now down towards the stadium. Comes through the Mobile 1 curve, and now down towards the Sachs curve. Not close enough there to make a move, but in fairness, it's a pretty narrow part of the circuit, that. So we've seen the bulk of the moves being made between turns 2 and 4 at the top of the circuit.
Can I just mention, 8 seconds ahead is this man.
Oh, yes.
That's Ekstrom. We've kind of forgotten about
really
him,
yes. Who is still, despite the fact he's on his own, having to concentrate like crazy.
7 laps left, 7 laps.
7 laps to go. Paffett for the podium, I predicted a while back, and I still stand by that because he's just gone so well. I don't think he's going to get second because their Mortara look is so far up the road. But Gary Paffett is on the tail of Martin Tomczyk, who has to think about defending up towards turn 2. And Paffett is close, but not close enough to make a move going into the corner, but he's got to get a clean run all the way around this S to challenge on the run to the hairpin, and that move starts now.
So let's see, so Tomczyk runs a bit wide there. That plays into the hands of Gary Paffett then. He's on the outside, he's got his nose in front now. Absolute drag race around as they head up towards the hairpin, and Gary Paffett tries to close the door, but Tomczyk is coming back. So, break, they both do as they head in towards the hairpin. He's going to try and go for the switchback and dive up the inside. No, he isn't. He's got the momentum. Gary is staying with the outside line, which, of course, he's done enough, hasn't he?
He has. Tomczyk slots in behind. Martin's got one more opportunity, which is to try to pressure Paffett wide at this next corner and get up the inside. Thought about it, couldn't do it. Paffett has secured third from 23rd on the grid.
And he gets the applause from Toto Wolff and the rest of the team there in the Mercedes-Benz garage. What a drive from Gary Paffett.
This was the move around the outside into the hairpin. And then Tomczyk covered the inside line thinking, haha, I know what you're going to do. And Paffett had a trick up his sleeve, didn't he? And that was to go to the outside, find the extra traction and keep his foot down and power out of the corner.
And you made the point, because of the incident yesterday, he'd got to do it well and he'd got to do it very cleanly, and he did so. Absolute master.
Okay, Martin, position 4 and 6 laps remaining. 6 laps remaining.
Rockenfeller attacking Wittmann here. This is for 5th place. As the weather has got worse, so Wittmann has dropped back, hasn't he, into the clutches of Rockenfeller. Of course, he lost out anyway to Tomczyk and to Paffett. Now Rockenfeller looking for a way by. Spengler, by the way, is still keeping Robert Wickens behind him. And we've now had Pascal Wehrlein up into 9th at the expense of Timo Glock. There are still things that can change in this race.
From Bruno Spengler, it's been a masterful few laps of defensive driving, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. So, Marco Wittmann, P5, Mike Rockenfeller, P6. Then the battle that you can see on screen right now. Ekstrom is 8.5 seconds to the good in the lead over Eduardo Mortara. Then Gary Paffett in 3rd place. Now, Wickens ahead of Spengler. So, Wickens has at last got that job done. And it has taken him a number of laps to be able to do that from the stoic defence of Bruno Spengler. Mike Rockenfeller then right on the back of Marco Wittmann there, and we go on board with Mike Rockenfeller, car number 99, the Schaeffler Audi, as Marco Wittmann just slides his way through that turn.
The countdown you can see on the screen, 9 minutes and change. Don't forget at the end of that there is one more lap that is tagged on, so it's time plus 1 lap. And at the moment Ekstrom is leading by 8.4 seconds. Matthias Ekstrom, the race leader from Eduardo Mortara, and Gary Paffett 3rd. As you look at Scheider trying to find a way past Timo Glock, and this is for the last place in the points. So it's crucial that Scheider really makes a good effort at this.
So as that battle comes into our shot right now, there is Timo Glock, and there is Timo Scheider in and off yesterday. that his arm went off to the medical centre, was seen by the doctors. Absolutely nothing broken at all. Bandage on, still painful, as he said to me this morning, but driving hard and now trying to get himself past Timo Glock into the final points-paying position.
I think the rest of Timo went with the arm, actually. It wasn't just the arm that went, the whole body went kind of with it, but I know what you mean. And the good news is that he's on track, and actually these wet conditions will help him a bit, because the pace of the race being slower means there's less exertion through the body. So actually these are the perfect conditions for Timo Scheider to kind of get on top of that injury, and it's great that he's back on the grid. Good character, Timo Scheider, double champion, isn't he? So heading up towards turn 2, 10th and 11th running together, and with now 7 3/4 minutes of the race to go, it looks like Matthias Ekstrom is on for a 20th career DTM win, doesn't it?
And just looking on a previous shot as we look at Timo Scheider there, now that Wickens has been released from Bruno Spengler, if you like, back to the Mercedes-Benz setup, he is away up the road now from Spengler. So I just wonder whether our theory that perhaps those cars have been set up to run in these conditions, maybe more so than some of the others, as Jamie Green and Christian Vittoris absolutely side by side there.
And Jamie's going to make the move on the inside here. Has he got the run? No, he hasn't, because on the outside, Vittoris found a bit more grip. You're right about this Mercedes setup, because if you have a look into 9th place, Wehrlein, who's been making progress, is lapping in the 52s, quicker than 1 or 2 ahead of him.
Right.
That suggests that's another car that likes the full wet weather. Now this fight between Vittoris and Green has changed in favour of Vittoris, and it is for 12th place. Wittmann versus Rockenfeller, we're looking at 5th and 6th. Wittmann, one gets the feeling he's on borrowed time here.
Do you think so?
He's faded away over the last few laps. He's lost out to Paffett, he's lost out to Tomczyk, and it's not going to be long, I think, before Rockenfeller makes the move.
Okay, well, we watch and await. Marco Wittmann currently P5. Mike Rockenfeller right behind him is P6. And, well, the margin has changed just a little, but it is only a little. Weather conditions still utterly dreadful. And the cars out there with the spray being chucked up, as you can see. We continue to watch this as Mike Rockenfeller tries to just line up Marco Wittmann, but not able to get close enough. And this is a replay then of how Robert Wickens went by Bruno Spengler. And
that was that turn 2, wasn't it? Up at the top of the circuit. So good pass by Robert Wickens. That puts him up into 7th, and now hunting down Mike Rockenfeller. Another reason why Rocky needs to try and find a way past Wittmann before he's caught by the Mercedes. And there you can see the gap is coming down. Wickens is really clawing back now against the Audi ahead of him. He's left Bruno Spengler a long way back, and Spengler straight away has been caught by Wehrlein. Again, further proof of how the Mercedes are set up for these full wet conditions.
We're on board with Wehrlein there. You can hear those wheels spinning in anger. But Pascal Wehrlein, there is Bruno Spengler right in the middle of your screen, being hounded now by Pascal Wehrlein. And lines up the BMW bank car and the Guix Mercedes driven by Pascal Wehrlein. 5 minutes plus 1 lap left to run in this second of DTM for 2015, the second race of the weekend. 2 races featuring it across every weekend, and Pascal Wehrlein gets ever closer to Bruno Spengler now. Through the stadium section of the circuit they come, and the BMW bank driver who defended so hard against the Mercedes driver Robert Wickens just a few laps ago is going to have to do the same all over again, but this time with Pascal Wehrlein right behind him.
This is the old part of the circuit where the drainage isn't quite so good, so you might find a bit more standing water here, and it makes overtaking harder because you've got to go offline to do it, and therefore you find more of a danger to aquaplaning. And as Pascal Wehrlein comes across the line, he is half a second back from Spengler. Closer he gets, the less he sees. Turns out of turn 1 now with just over 4 minutes still to run. And there you can see Rockenfeller is right on the tail of Wittmann, and the move now to try to take 5th place starts right here, and it will be completed, I suspect, up at the hairpin.
Well, let's see as he lines up Marco Wittmann. Of course, Robert Wickens trying to buy into this as well as they head now towards the hairpin. Out of the spray dives Mike Rockenfeller. Brakes much, much later. Wittmann tries to cover the line. Robert Wickens tries to buy into it as well, and Mike Rockenfeller is right in the middle of that. Not only hunting, but being hunted as well, and nothing changes.
But Rockenfeller is going to be sweating a bit more, I'd have thought, now, because he knows that his place is under attack. He's in jeopardy. Robert Wickens to try and get sixth away from him, and that's looking pretty likely. Replay in super slow-mo of Marco Wittmann hitting those sausage curbs, and as the bodywork splitter particularly grinds against the ground, so the sparks fly. Wiper on, and with now just 3 minutes and 7 seconds of the race remaining, the leaders work their way towards the stadium once more. Marco Wittmann, you're looking at, though, is fifth, Rockenfeller sixth, and Wickens right there in the spray, almost hidden seventh. Wickens has the opportunity here, given his pace, to get past both of those two before the very end, and Rockenfeller making heavy weather of it in contrast.
You're absolutely right.
Through goes Wehrlein, who's got himself up past Spengler, so that's a change now as well. Wehrlein up into eighth. And this was how he did it, up the inside at the hairpin. Spengler tried to cut across, but Wehrlein had the inside line, and he ran Spengler out wide.
3 laps to go.
And has really been able to pull away, hasn't he? There's no question about what you and I have been saying about the setup of these Mercedes-Benz cars.
So 3 laps to go, the teams are advising their drivers of now. Remember, it's to the end of the time, plus a lap. So don't just think about the clock, there's the extra lap to bolt on at the end. Wickens on the back of Rockenfeller. And Mike, as if he wasn't trying hard anyway, needs to really go for it now. Glock has got Scheider up behind him, and they're still fighting for the last point, don't forget those two. To the hairpin for the 33rd time. Timo Scheider is close to Timo Glock.
Wehrlein behind you is 4.3 seconds.
Through goes Rockenfeller, makes the move on Wittmann. Wittmann fights back, goes through, retakes the place.
Well, there we are. That's how it can work and work against you at the hairpin, isn't it? So Marco Wittmann gets that place back. Mike Rockenfeller, well, he's run out of time to do it all over again, quite truthfully. And Robert Wickens is in there as well. The race being led by Matthias Ekström from Eduardo Mortara and Gary Paffett, P3. And now Bruno Spengler and Timo Glock going to come under pressure from Timo Scheider. There is Marco Wittmann, and Mike Rockenfeller has been trying to find a way past Marco Wittmann. Thought it secured it at that hairpin, which we saw just a few seconds ago, but it wasn't to be as Marco Wittmann fought back. And Gary Wickens is just waiting for those two to come to grief and for him to be able to potentially take advantage of that, as Timo Scheider just took a sneaky look at the inside of Timo Glock there.
But have a look behind them, because Christian Vittoris is closing up as well in his Mercedes, going strongly in these very wet conditions. So we've got just over half a minute to go.
Keep pushing.
There's going to be this lap they're on and one more. There goes Wittmann, Rockenfeller having briefly been ahead, and Robert Wickens really rising to the occasion in these conditions, doing a very good job, running seventh. Is he going to be better than that by the end? Scheider still hasn't given up in his quest to get past Timo Glock, the former Formula One racer, and now this battle is really about Rockenfeller defending from Wickens.
Yes, which plays into the hands of Marco Wittmann, who's able to get off up the road, isn't he, and protect that P5 position that he has.
2 laps to go, 2 laps.
So Rocky being informed that there are 2 laps to go, 2 laps of heavy defence. It's
really this and one more.
One more after this, isn't it?
So that's a slightly misleading message, really. Up towards the hairpin, and Wickens is close, but he's not able to make a move going into the corner. What about coming out of it? No. Rockenfeller has the drive. Marco Wittmann has pulled away, hasn't he, by enough now to consolidate what is 5th place, but it's the fight on for 6th between a sideways Rockenfeller and Robert Wickens.
So, as Robert Wickens lines up the Schäfli Audi ahead, we go back to our race leader, who we've not seen too much of, truthfully, because he's driven utterly faultlessly and hasn't had a problem at all. Matthias Ekström has done it all and done a fantastic job, and as he crosses the line now, one more lap for Matthias Ekström to do. It is time plus 1 lap.
Mortara second, Paffett for the podium. He's there in 3rd.
You did say that, and your prediction is spot on at the moment. Ekström, Mortara, Paffett, then Tomczyk. And we're on the last lap, and well,
gap to Edo 7.2, gap to Paffett 10 seconds. This is your last lap. This is your last lap. Matthias
being told that it is his last lap, and gap back to second and third places as Christian Vittoris gets alongside Timo Scheider and turns him around.
And Timo will have felt that, given the injury from yesterday, and that will put Vittoris up into 11th. Might get a finger wagging from the officials as well for that, but in these conditions it's hard to know really what's just a bit optimistic and what's the lack of traction that causes an incident. Matthias Ekström, though, has driven faultlessly, and Vittoris is under investigation for the incident with Timo Scheider. Matthias Ekström will take a 20th DTM victory. He has driven like a master. He led early on. He had to fight his way back ahead of Mortara after the pit stops, don't forget, and since he got back into the lead, he's just driven like an absolute veteran, which he is, and of course the double champion is one of the top drivers in the DTM. This is why.
Absolutely, as he heads around the final section of turns to take his win here at Hockenheim in extremely challenging conditions, and to be fair, he has made it look all so very, very easy. Matthias Ekström then turns around the final turn and heads towards the checkered flag in the Audi.
Well done. Proper job. No car. On start finish, except you. This is what you want. Proper job. Thanks. Well done. Thank you.
Proper job indeed. Mortara takes second. But Paffett was closing in on him, and Paffett does make it to the podium as predicted.
8 tenths between second and third. Mortara and Paffett. Gary was only 8 seconds away from the race leader, up from 23rd on the grid. A terrific job by Matthias Ekström. Let's not take anything away from him, but for my money, the driver of the race was Gary Paffett. There he is, third position for Gary. So up from the very back of the grid. Maybe the conditions did help today. Sometimes you would have suggested that these were horrible conditions in which to try and do all that hard work, but the way Mercedes seemed to have on the setup, it was absolutely right for the Mercedes, and that possibly did help Gary, but even so, he didn't put a wheel wrong.
I was going to say, let's not lose sight of the fact he is a masterful driver also, as is this man, Matthias Ekström, taking the win here in race number 2 of the all-new DTM for 2015. Weather affected, undoubtedly. And Eduardo Mortara, the first of those to dive in for wet weather. Hans-Jürgen Abt is with Farina now.
Hans-Jürgen Abt, what a fantastic weekend. Yesterday we had the victory of Jamie Green, and today we've got a double victory. Are you happy?
I'm really happy because the team did a fantastic job and everything worked well. Pit stop was great, the strategy was perfect, and it was not so easy what it's looking for, but I'm really happy to be first and second.
Yeah, sunshine on a happy day. However, you're talking about the strategy. With Eki, you waited a bit long to pull him in, but however, Eki proved once again he's the master of rain.
Yeah, this was a little bit risky, but we tried it with Edo first, and we saw that this was okay, but the time was nearly right, and everything was fine. Don't worry.
It surely was fine. Congratulations again, and back to you guys.
Farina, don't worry. No need. Mr. Abt says so. As Eki celebrates with some donuts, and you know what? I love to see that. Yeah. Big crowd here. Come on, let's entertain. And Matthias Ekström has done that with some outstanding driving today. As he brings the car in, there'll be a lot of rattling of the boards around the Parc Fermé area, that's for sure. Also in Eduardo Mortara, and we await, I think probably you are right, the drive of the day from Gary Paffett when you consider where that man started.
And how many cars he had to pass.
I know.
And how many battles he had, and the weather conditions, and. That's not to take anything away from Matthias Ekström, who drove a tremendous race, absolutely no question. And that makes up for his disappointment yesterday. He was, after a pit stop for a new set of tyres, only 12 out of the points yesterday. He's atoned for it today. And Eduardo Mortara shows his appreciation for the ability of Matthias Ekström.
Great to see.
And Matthias, I think, has worked very hard in that race. He's taking his time to get out of the car, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Gets his breath back. Whereas this man is positively buzzing. Gary Paffett, possibly the drive of his life. Absolutely excellent job by Gary. 23rd on the grid. He started, having been excluded from qualifying. He finishes third. Matthias Ekström has unplugged everything he needs to. Scrambles between all the roll cage, all the safety side impact bars, and he's a race winner.
Dare I say it, you or I wouldn't look quite so graceful getting out of that car, would we?
That's a moot point. But that's the winner. Matthias Ekström, his 20th DTM win, slides down the bonnet. He's becoming quite a showman, isn't he, Matthias?
Yes. And all for that. So discussions there between the two of them.
Hans-Jürgen Abt leans over and congratulates Matthias Ekström. No further action against Christian Vitoris for the incident with Timo Scheider. Racing incident, that's declared.
You did make the point. Conditions are extremely challenging, and it's you're tipping your way round to find what the levels are as we get confirmation of the result. Then Matthias Ekström taking the win from Eduardo Mortara, and a supreme drive from Gary Paffett, P3. Then it was Tomczyk, Wittmann, Rockenfeller, Wickens and Pascal Wehrlein before Spengler, Glock, Vitoris. Then it was Timo Scheider, Jamie Green, Maxime Martin, Danny Juncadella, Max Götz, and a number of other drivers there that we saw really very little of because there was so much going on.
And so many significant battles. Matthias Ekström is still busy celebrating as he leaps over to do TV interviews. Norbert Haug there.
Norbert Haug looks slightly worried then for a moment.
Yes.
I think he thought he was going to get a kiss, didn't he?
At the very least, yes. But Matthias able to stop in time. Replay of him taking the checkered flag. Norbert Haug, part of the German television team these days, as the Audi guys in replay celebrate. What a weekend for Audi. Jamie Green and Matthias Ekström, the two race winners. But Gary Paffett, the driver of the race from our point of view, Verena, what does Gary think about his drive?
Oh, I'm so sure he's absolutely thrilled. I mean, what a race, coming from all the way in the end to third place. I mean, that is just absolutely fantastic. You're a killer.
Yeah, I'm so happy. I mean, just an incredibly tough weekend for me and for the team. I mean, okay, they made a few mistakes and we got put to the back of the grid today after a great qualifying, but what a race. I mean, they made a great call with the pit stop. They pulled us in early when it started to rain, and the car was incredible in the wet. I mean, we were just so much quicker than everybody else, and the problem is when you catch them, you can't see anything in front of you, and trying to find my way past them all, up to P3, I mean, unbelievable, just unbelievable. 23-3 is just crazy.
It really was the race of your life. Congratulations from zero to hero. Congratulations. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena. There's no question about that. He's, well, and he makes the point there that we tried to make, that is, when you're trying to overtake a car ahead of you, you can see nothing, David.
Absolutely, just sitting in the spray.
This was Norbert Haug getting very worried, look.
He's on his toes. reverse. They're very athletic, Matthias Ekström. Eduardo Mortara leads the championship now. Let's hear from him. He's with Verena.
Yeah, Edo must be really, really happy too. You were fighting like crazy and up on the podium. Happy?
Very happy. I mean, it was one of the longest races in my career. I was struggling so much with the water. The car was just sliding all over the place. There was so much water on track. It was very difficult today. But in the end, if we see the overall picture and the overall result, 1-2 for Audi, for Team Abt. It couldn't be such a... It was such a wonderful weekend for us, and it could have ended any better for us.
All right, well, congratulations, enjoy it, and off you go up on the podium. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Verena. So as we see everyone, including Matthias Ekström and Hans-Jürgen Abt there, making their way up to the podium. And the podium ceremony will be got underway very, very soon. Manfred Steinbichler there offering his congratulations. He, the motorsport director of Hankook Tyres. And out onto the podium straight away comes Matthias Ekström. The Audi team back on the boards to welcome Eduardo Mortara up onto the podium as well.
Gary Paffett, what a drive! From 23rd on the grid for third place, the driver of the day. Hans-Jürgen Abt, of course, to represent the winning manufacturer as we get ready for the national anthems.
Well, the national anthem plays out for Matthias Ekström then, and it was you that earlier said it's his 20th win in DTM. Trophy presentation from Sung Hwan Kim, the managing director of Hankook Reifen Deutschland, makes the trophy presentation to Matthias Ekström.
And the trophy also to Hans-Jürgen Abt as the representative of Audi, as the winning manufacturer. And a great reception as well for the boss from all the engineers down in the pit lane. Second place then to Eduardo Mortara, who leaves here as the championship leader. Henri Lecomte, the former tennis player, and indeed one-time racing driver. He had a go in the Porsche Super Cup in a guest car a long time ago. He hands over the trophy. And then for third place, it's going to be Wotan Wilke Möhring, who will hand over the trophy to Gary Paffett in a moment. The trophy is there, and Gary, I think he's a little bit nervous about Matthias Ekström's keenness with the fizz on the podium, and justifiably. There you go. Gary eventually does get soaked, but after the race they've all driven, and astonishing that we only had one retirement in that race,
yes.
And that wasn't because of a crash. I think there might have been a bit of damage on Adrian Tombé's car, but it was largely mechanical damage, I think, that caused him to retire. But given the conditions and also what we saw yesterday, an extraordinarily good survival rate.
As always, we wonder, particularly when the weather affects things the way it does, whether we're going to see a safety car. And well, the race has unfolded today, the first of the new format of 2 races across the DTM weekend, as we see the 1, 2, 3, and Hans-Jürgen Abt on the very left-hand side of your screen. Gary Paffett, Matthias Ekström, and Eduardo Mortara all up there, all smiles, and Gary is just relieved that at last he's back where he probably deserves to be, and that is on the podium.
It's interesting as well, isn't it? Because last year during the championship, you and I talked about how the DTM was shifting a little bit from the old guard to the young guns,
well,
and there you've got what you might call 2 of the old guard.
Yes.
Matthias Ekström and Gary Paffett, who are amongst the older drivers on the grid. I think Matthias is the oldest, and there they are, 2 of the 3 on the podium. Gary Paffett then, he started 23rd, having lost his qualifying times for the DRS blocker spacer not being fitted in qualifying. But what a drive through what was a race-long, seemingly a race-long water splash for the second half at least. Eduardo Mortara second, but let's hear from race winner Matthias Ekström.
Yes, let us hear from the winner. Congratulations. You were just all the way up in the front. Didn't get almost lonely? I mean, you just did such a fantastic race. Congratulations. I'm pretty sure you're just so absolutely thrilled.
Yeah, I mean, it was, the car was easy to drive. I like those type of conditions. Trying to find the grip limit, and I enjoyed every single lap. There was only one lap which was difficult, was the lap before the pit stop with slicks when it was raining. That was difficult, but big picture, very, very happy and also proud.
Yeah, you did a brilliant job, the team did, but there was one little thing with the strategy. You were called in pretty late. That was a bit risky.
Yeah, it was one lap too late, but that lap was probably the lap which I had to dig deep in my pockets, because it's difficult to drive when it's wet with the slicks. So I lost a bit of time, but big picture, we came out on the wet. The car was again very good, and I could catch up again.
And you just proved once again you're the master of the ring. Congratulations, enjoy, thank you. And well, we'll see you in 4 weeks at the Lausitzring. Looking forward to that. And for you now, the highlights. Enjoy and see you. Bye-bye.
You're watching me under the light. Can I be a line? They say it's easy to leave you behind. I don't wanna try. Cut cover, take that test. Hold courage to your chest. Don't wanna wait for you. Don't wanna have to lose all that I've compromised to feel another high. I've got to keep it down tonight. to carry on. No love and no admission, take this from me tonight. Oh, let's fight.
Good.